All right, let's dive into Encruzado today. It's a white grape from Portugal, and it's finally getting the spotlight it deserves. We've got articles and history, tasting notes. We even have advice for sommeliers here. We're going deep. So, what's so special about Encruzado, and why should our listeners care?
Well, this isn't a grape with a ton of hype or crazy legend surrounding it. Encruzado lets its flavor tell the story, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. Uncover it.
I love that. So, no marketing tricks, just straight up deliciousness. All right, let's get to the basics. This is a Portuguese grape, right?
Yeah.
Exclusively, and mainly found in Dome.
Yeah. Think of Doan as Encruzado's home base, although, like you said, you might see it pop up in a few other regions. Douro, for example.
Okay, so we're talking about a grape with a real sense of place. But what about the grape itself? What makes it, well, unique?
So picture this. You're looking at an Encruzado vine. You'll see those leaves, kind of pentagon-shaped, with 3 to 5 lobes. And the clusters, they're compact with these greenish-yellow berries. One cool thing is the berries have thick skins. Natural disease resistance. That's a plus for the growers, for sure.
Interesting, a tough grape, that's for sure. Now, what about the growing cycle? Does that affect the taste of Encruzado wines?
Absolutely. Encruzado really takes its time to ripen. We're talking a medium to long growing season that usually harvest late September or early October. And all that time, it lets the flavors get complex, builds up that acidity too.
Ah, so that hang time is key to developing the character we find in the glass. Okay, gotta ask about the name, Encruzado. I read that there are a couple of theories. One's about the clusters being intertwined, and the other's about it adapting to different terroirs. Any idea which one's right?
Neither one has really been proven, which just adds to the mystery, right? It's kind of cool, actually. No grand legend, just pure deliciousness. And Cruzado is all about the taste.
I like it. A grape that lets its qualities speak louder than words. And speaking of qualities, we have to talk about terroir. It seems like it's a huge part of what makes Encruzado special.
You're spot on. Terroir is like the magic ingredient. It's all about how the soil, the climate, really the whole environment where the grapes are grown, how that impacts the final wine. And in Dome, well, that terroir is really special.
Yeah, that's right. Down has that continental climate. Hot, dry summers, and then those cold winters. I remember reading about the granitic soils, too. They play a big role, too, right?
Right. That combination of climate and soil, it's like the foundation. But here's where things get really interesting. Even within Dome, there are these microclimates, and they can cause some pretty big differences in the wines.
Hold on. Microclimates. What exactly does that mean?
So imagine two vineyards, both growing in Cruzado, but one's higher up on a slope, the other's down in the valley. That altitude difference, that creates two distinct microclimates.
Okay, I see. So the higher altitude, it's cooler, right? That would make a different style of Encruzado compared to the warmer valley.
Exactly. Higher altitudes, they generally mean more acidity in the grapes, firmer tannins. And the aromas, they're more delicate. Think floral notes, citrus, fresh herbs, and lower down. Warmer temperatures mean riper fruit, fuller-bodied wine, and sometimes even tropical fruit notes.
Wow, so much variation from just one grape.
And there's more. Sun exposure also plays a huge role. South-facing slopes. More sun means riper, more intense in Cruzado. Higher alcohol, too, probably. North-facing. Less direct sunlight, so you get those wines with that zingy acidity, that elegance, and often they age really well.
Okay, mind blown. So knowing about these microclimates, how does that help me choose a bottle of Encruzado?
Great question. It means you can pick a bottle that matches your taste perfectly, feeling like something crisp and zesty. Look for one from a higher altitude vineyard. Craving a rich, full-bodied white for a hearty dinner, go for one from a lower, sun-drenched spot. Match the wine to your mood, match it to the occasion.
This is why I love these deep dives. Like getting a cheat sheet for the wine world. All right, so we've talked grapes and terroir, two big parts of the puzzle. Now let's get to how it all comes together. The winemaking. From what I've read, Encruzado winemaking, it's a mix of tradition and technology, right?
Yeah, that's right. They respect those traditional methods, but they're also open to using modern technology to keep the quality top-notch.
So take me through it. Grape to bottle. What are the key steps in making Encruzado?
Well, it starts with the basics. Destemming, crushing the grapes, and then pressing. Traditionally, they do a gentle press to get those delicate flavors. Then comes the fermentation, and here's where things get interesting. Winemakers get to make some choices.
This is where the wild yeasts come in, right? I've heard about spontaneous fermentation. But then there's also using selected yeasts. What's the difference, and why would a winemaker choose one or the other?
You got it. Spontaneous fermentation, it's all about those natural yeast, the ones on the grapes, the ones in the winery. It's a way to let that terroir really shine through. Gives you a wine with a real sense of place. On the other hand, with selected yeasts, the winemaker can control the fermentation more. They can kind of nudge the wine towards certain flavors, get specific aromas.
So it's like a balance, letting nature do its thing versus the winemaker guiding the process. Okay, another big decision. Oak or no oak. We know that can really change a wine's flavor.
Absolutely. Oak aging, usually with French oak, it's pretty common with Encruzado. It adds complexity, structure, gives you those nice notes of spice, vanilla, toast. But like everything in winemaking, it's all about balance. You're enhancing the natural goodness, not hiding it.
Mhm.
Some winemakers actually choose to skip the oak completely. Just let that pure fruit of Encruzado shine.
That's what's making me realize there's no one Encruzado taste. It's a grape with a whole range of expressions.
Exactly, and that's part of what makes Encruzado so exciting. And there's another technique some winemakers use to add complexity and texture. Lees contact. Basically, it means aging the wine in contact with the lees. That's the leftover yeast from fermentation. It adds this richness, this creaminess. You get those lovely yeasty, nutty notes.
I'm seeing a theme here. Lots of options. Lots of ways to shape the wine. It all comes down to the winemaker's skill and vision, right?
Exactly. From the vineyard to the winery, each step, the winemaker is making decisions. And those decisions determine the style and character of the Encruzado.
Okay, we've gone from vine to winery, explored all these cool techniques. Now the part we've all been waiting for. What we actually experience when we open a bottle. What kind of flavors, what kind of aromas should we expect?
All right, so with young Encruzados, think vibrancy, freshness. You'll get bright citrus, lemon, grapefruit, maybe a little green apple. Some white fruits too, like pear and white peach. You might get those delicate floral notes. And of course, that minerality, that's what Encruzado's known for.
Sounds refreshing. But what about Encruzados aged in oak? How are they different?
Oak aging, it makes for a richer, fuller-bodied Encruzado. The fruits become more tropical, pineapple, mango, maybe even a hint of passion fruit. And you have the oak, all that spice, vanilla, toast. It creates a much more complex experience.
And then, of course, there's aged Encruzado. Tell me more about that. I'm always interested in wines that age well.
Aged Encruzado, that's where things get really interesting. This wine, it matures, it goes through this beautiful transformation. Those citrus and floral notes, they evolve into dried fruits, honey, nutty notes. You might even get some of those earthy and saline notes. And here's a fun fact. Some aged Encruzados, they get this subtle bitterness that adds a whole other layer to the taste.
Wow. Aged Encruzado. Officially on my list to try. But before we get lost in dreams of sipping that, we got to talk food pairings. This grape seems to go with so many different dishes.
You're right. It goes way beyond what you might think. Of course, Encruzado is from Portugal, so it's a natural with seafood. Grilled sardines, rich fish stews, even simple stuff like bacalhau. Encruzado cuts right through the richness with its acidity and minerality. Perfect harmony.
Oh, I can imagine it now, with all those classic Portuguese dishes. But I read it can handle some bolder flavors too, right? The notes we have here even suggest cured cheeses.
You got it. Encruzado's versatile like that. But here's the really exciting part. It doesn't have to be Portuguese food. It can pair amazingly with all sorts of international cuisine.
Let's hear it. Besides seafood, what else can we pair with Encruzado? Any surprises for our listeners?
Well, for starters, Encruzado can be awesome with Asian food. Think about it. The acidity cuts through the richness, and those citrus notes, they complement those complex flavors so well. Sushi, Thai curries, Vietnamese spring rolls, all amazing with Encruzado.
Mind blown. Asian food, it makes total sense now that you mention it, but I never would have thought of it. What about other cuisines?
Mediterranean food is another great match. The minerality of Encruzado really shines there. Pairs beautifully with seafood, grilled veggies, light pasta dishes, and get this. Encruzado can even be fantastic with some Italian dishes. Tomato sauces, lighter cheeses. Give it a try.
Okay, so this grape can travel the world with us. That acidity and minerality we keep talking about, they're like secret weapons for pairing.
They really are. The trick with Encruzado is to match the intensity of the wine to the dish. Lighter styles for delicate food. Those richer oak-aged Encruzados for bolder flavors.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot. The grape itself, terroir, the winemaking, food pairings. What about the future? Where does Encruzado go from here?
Another great question. Our sources, they kind of paint a picture of both challenges and optimism for this grape.
Challenges, that doesn't sound too good.
Well, like a lot of wine regions, Doan's facing climate change. Plus, there's competition in the global market. But the sources we have, they also have this sense of hope, a real determination.
Phew. So what needs to happen for Encruzado to really make its mark? What are the keys to its success?
Sustainability is huge. People want eco-conscious practices now. Winemakers in Dom, they're getting on board with that. Organic and biodynamic methods, protecting the environment, making sure the vineyards last.
Good to hear. Sustainability is so important. For the planet and the quality of the wines?
Absolutely. There's also a lot of focus on research these days. Scientists and winemakers, they're working together, trying to really understand Encruzado. They're doing clonal selections to find the vines that are the most disease-resistant, the ones that have the best flavors, the ones that suit specific terroirs and styles.
It's like mapping out Encruzado's DNA. And that's all about improving the quality of the wines.
Yeah. And that research is happening all the time. There's so much left to discover, and that's what makes it exciting. Encruzado has a bright future.
I'm starting to see that Encruzado isn't just a grape. It's a reflection of Daum. The culture, the history, the passion. It's about resilience, adaptability, a commitment to excellence.
Well said. That's what makes Encruzado so interesting. It makes you think, it makes you explore, it makes you appreciate the connection between the land, the people, the art of winemaking.
What a journey. I'm definitely inspired to learn more, taste more Encruzado, tell everyone about it. But before we wrap up, I think it's important to acknowledge the human element here, because behind every bottle, there are people who made it happen.
Absolutely. And with a grape like Encruzado, one that's still relatively unknown, there's a real sense of passion and dedication behind its production.
Yeah, it really does add something, to know there's a family, a personal story behind the wine.
It's like you're tasting the dedication, the artistry of the people right alongside the grape and the terroir.
And, speaking of artistry, there's a trend that I think fits perfectly with Encruzado, this move towards like minimal intervention.
Oh, you mean the natural wine thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
everywhere these days.
Yeah.
But it's more than a trend, right? It's a whole philosophy of winemaking.
Absolutely. It's all about letting the grape speak for itself. As little intervention as possible. You trust the natural fermentation, you cut back on additives, you let the wine, become what it wants to be.
And it seems like that would be perfect for Encruzado, with how it reflects all those terroir nuances.
It's a match made in, somewhere amazing. Encruzado's got the complexity, the structure. It's perfect for this hands-off approach. A gentle touch brings out those subtle flavors.
So it's a balance then. The winemaker's guiding things, but also respecting the grape's natural potential.
Exactly. And I think that balance, that's one reason Encruzado is getting so popular with sommeliers, with people who really love wine. They want something delicious, but also something that makes you think.
Right. It's not just what's in the glass. It's the story.
Mhm.
It's the connection to a place, the people. It's about finding something unique, something real.
And Encruzado, it delivers all that. This is a wine that makes you slow down, savor it, appreciate every step of the journey, from the vine to your glass.
I think that's a pretty great way to describe it. It's been amazing, this deep dive. So many surprises.
I agree. It's a reminder that there's always something new out there, hidden gems, just waiting to be discovered.
So to all our listeners out there, go find some Encruzado. You won't regret it.
And hey, maybe our little deep dive has sparked something, made you curious, made you thirsty for knowledge. Maybe it'll send you off on your own wine adventures.
The world of wine, it's huge. And there's always something new to learn. So, until next time, happy exploring. But hold on, we're not done with Encruzado just yet. There's more to uncover.
Speaking of uncovering things, we can't forget one of the most exciting things about Encruzado. It ages like a dream.
Oh yeah, the aging potential. I was reading about that. Some Encruzados can age for decades. What's the secret? What makes them last so long?
It's like they're built for it. From the start, Encruzado's got this amazing structure and acidity, and that's crucial for aging.
So it's not just about keeping a bottle for a special occasion. It's about a wine that actually changes over time.
Exactly. Think about it. You have that young Encruzado, all citrus and floral. But as it ages, those mellow out. They make way for these richer notes. Dried fruit, honey, nuts, maybe even a little earthiness, some saltiness. And the acidity, which can be pretty strong at first, it softens. Everything comes together, becomes balanced.
I can already imagine those flavors
Yeah.
developing over time. Okay, but let's change gears for a sec. Let's talk context. The wine world, It's always changing, right? New trends, new discoveries, new regions popping up. Where does Encruzado fit in all that?
That's a really important point. We can't just look at wine by itself. You got to see the big picture, what's shaping the wine world. And one of the biggest things right now is sustainability.
For sure. People are thinking about the impact of their choices. They want wines that are, made responsibly. Are we seeing that in Dell?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's this movement with Encruzado producers. They're all about sustainable farming, doing things that minimize their impact, preserve the land for the future, organic fertilizers, cover crops, water conservation, stuff like that.
It's good to see people thinking long-term, especially in a place like Dao, with all that history. But there's also the challenge of standing out. So many wines out there. How does Encruzado make itself heard?
It's all about the story. Encruzado has a unique one to tell, that connection to down, the history, the culture, the producers, they're getting creative about sharing that story.
Like we talked about before, no gimmicks. Encruzado, it lets the flavors do the talking. But it needs a platform, right? It needs people to spread the word.
Exactly. And that's where sommeliers come in, wine writers, educators, even podcasters like us. We can be ambassadors for Encruzado, help people discover it.
You know what? I'm feeling inspired to do just that. But let's be real. Wine's a business. And for a grape like Encruzado, smaller production, niche appeal, profitability can be tough.
It's a balancing act, for sure. They got to make high quality, express the terroir, but also they got to make a living. And there are groups out there that are helping. The CVR Down, they're the Regional Wine Commission. They're doing a lot to promote Dom wines, advocate for the winemakers.
Sounds like a team effort. Producers, sommeliers, researchers, and groups like the CVR Down, all working together to help Encruzado succeed. But it's more than just the money, right? There's the cultural side too, preserving Down's heritage.
Right. We talked about the old vines, but there's all this knowledge, all these winemaking traditions, they need to be protected, passed on to the next generation.
Because those old vines, those traditions, they're a link to the past. They're part of what makes Encruzado wine so complex, so authentic.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, honoring the past, but also embracing the future. There's a lot of cool innovation happening in Del, new fermentation techniques, sparkling Encruzado.
Wait a minute, sparkling Encruzado. Now that's something I gotta see. Never seen that on a wine list.
It's pretty new, but some producers are trying it out, and the results are exciting. It just shows how versatile Encruzado is and how creative these dumb winemakers are.
I love how there's always something new in the wine world. So tell me about the research on Encruzado. You mentioned clonal selection earlier. What's that all about?
Sure. Clonal selection, it's all about finding the best wines. For specific things, they look at different Encruzado clones, see which ones resist disease best, which ones make the best flavors, which ones are best for certain terroirs or winemaking styles.
It's like mapping out Encruzado's DNA. And all that information, it helps improve the wines, right?
And the research never stops. There's so much we still don't know about Encruzado, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
I'm starting to see that Encruzado is more than just a grape. It represents Down, the culture, the history, the passion for winemaking. It's about resilience, about adapting. It's about striving for the best.
That's beautifully put, and I think that's why Encruzado is so compelling. It's a wine that makes you think, makes you explore, makes you appreciate that connection, the land, the people, the craft of winemaking.
This has been amazing. It's really opened my eyes. I want to learn more, taste more Encruzado, share what I've learned. But before we finish up our Encruzado adventure, I think we need to take a minute to acknowledge the people behind every bottle.
Absolutely. And with a grape like Encruzado, one that's not so well known yet, there's a real sense of passion, of dedication, from the people making it.
From what I've read, a lot of the Encruzado producers are small, family-run. They've been in Down for generations.
Yeah. It's more than just making wine for them. It's tradition, a way of life. They're tied to the land, to the grape.
They're like guardians of Encruzado, making sure its story continues. And it's pretty special knowing that the wine you're drinking comes from people who care so much about it.
Yeah, it really adds a whole other level, doesn't it? Knowing there's a family, a history behind it.
It does. It makes you appreciate the craft even more.
Speaking of craft, there's this trend, and I think it's a great fit for Encruzado, minimal intervention winemaking. You heard about that?
Oh, yeah, you mean the natural wine movement. It's pretty popular these days.
Exactly. And it's more than just a trend, right? It's like a whole new way of thinking about wine. You're right. It's about stripping things back, letting the grape be the star. You interfere as little as possible. Natural fermentation, fewer additives. The wine just kind of does its thing.
And that sounds perfect for Encruzado. How it shows off the terroir so
Oh,
well.
it's a perfect match. And Cruzado, it's already got so much complexity, so much structure, little hands-off approach, and those subtle flavors can really come out.
It's finding that balance, isn't it, between the winemaker's skill and, like, respecting what the grape wants to do.
That's it, exactly. And I think that's a big reason why people are starting to pay attention to Encruzado. Sommeliers, wine lovers, they're looking for something different, something real.
It's more than just the taste, right? It's that connection to the land, the people.
You got it. Encruzado, it's a wine that makes you slow down, really savor the experience.
I think you summed it up perfectly. It's been an amazing journey learning about Encruzado.
I agree. So many surprises along the way.
And I think it's important to remember, there are real people behind these wines.
Yeah, absolutely. For a grape like Encruzado, one that's still kind of under the radar, there's a lot of passion, a lot of dedication.
A lot of the producers, they're small, right? Family-run businesses.
Many of them, yeah. Been in dumb for generations, some of them. Passing down the tradition.
That's really special, I think, to know there's that history. It gives the wine a whole new meaning.
I think so too. At the end of the day, Encruzado's a reminder that there's always something new to discover.
I'm already thinking about what bottle I want to open next.
And maybe this deep dive will inspire our listeners to do the same, to go out and explore the world of wine.
Well said. So that's it for our Encruzado adventure. For now, anyway.
It's been a pleasure exploring with you.
Likewise. And to everyone listening, until next time, happy exploring. Cheers.